xạo anything. Ready? Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Welcome back to my channel. So today the topic is where Vietnam located in the map. As you can see, there's a world map behind me. So let me be clear, the country of Vietnam is in the Asia continent. You see that park? Yeah, it's Asia. And for the exact, the latitude and longitude is 15.4549 north and 106.5760 east. Have you identified Vietnam yet? Let me give you a minute. Yeah, you see it? Yeah, that's it. Well done, you. So Vietnam is the top travel destination in the world in general and in Southeast Asia in particular. It's got so many attractions, interesting story about history, geographical. So you know now where Vietnam is located. I will now introduce you more to Vietnam in brief. You know, there are so many things about a country that you can explore just by storytelling or searching on Google or before you actually visit it. So when you visit it, you're gonna got a more interesting background to back you up. So Vietnam is the easternmost country on the Indochina Peninsula in Southeast Asia. I'm not really sure what that means. It sounds like a big word, but it may mean it's the neighbor, our neighbor country. So it's bordered by China in the north. Have you seen it? China is quite big, like huge, like the second biggest country in the world. So Vietnam is bordered by them to the north. There are so many political factors about Vietnam and China. I'm sure every neighbor country does. And then we got Laos, you know, Laos country, Lao, to the northwest, and Cambodia to the southwest, and the South China Sea. I don't know why it's called South China Sea, but some Vietnamese not really agree with that. Refer to in Vietnam as the East Sea. Yeah, this makes more sense because the south to one country, the east to the other. So now it's a little bit about Vietnam history. Well, talk about Vietnam, most people think about Vietnam War. They don't really understand what's happening and why Vietnam been targeted by so many empire, like big country, like France, China, America. So Vietnam has a very rich region because it got a 5,000 years Red River Valley, make the ground easy to grow any tropical fruit. I mean, the land is rich, and that's the reason why it's been ruled by the China from 111 BC and ended in 930 AD when revolt stopped by the Chinese ruling dynasty who ruled the land. There are so many reasons because China is bigger than Vietnam, so they think that they can just conquer Vietnam and combine it together. But the fact that Vietnamese people not really happy with that idea and don't even know why the Chinese come here and behave like that. So Vietnam fight back, and China definitely attempt to invade a number of times after Vietnam fight back, but they never success. I don't know why. Probably Vietnam strategy is so good, or China not prepared good enough, or there's some reason that Vietnam never been conquered, but it actually been like slave for so many years. So in the 17th century, Vietnam was divided into two kingdoms, one ruled by the Nguyen dynasty and another by the Tay Son. There are two different idea group of Vietnamese people who want to make Vietnam better, but they are in a different strategy. So one is Nguyen dynasty and the other is the Tay Son. Let me be clear that they are all good people, but they got different thinking and they don't agree with each other. Make Vietnam like internal conflict. So that is the opportunity for an outsider jump in and behave like friend, but actually trying to conquer Vietnam. So the outsider that think this is a good opportunity for them is the French. So they decided to choose the Nguyen dynasty because the Nguyen dynasty sounds bigger, because Nguyen dynasty actually the king of a region in 1802, and the French helped the Nguyen defeat the Tay Son and create a single Vietnam kingdom. So the Nguyen dynasty on theory is still the king of Vietnam, but the person behind it is actually the French. So the French has been invade Vietnam since 1890, and the French becoming the French protectorate in theory as well as in real life. I mean, Vietnam, there's some part of Vietnam in Nguyen dynasty location is really French. As you visit nowadays, you can actually feel it, like the building, the architecture, the food, like there are pretty much culture of French in there. And then during World War II, for some reason, Vietnam were briefly conquered by Japan, and up to 1945, there's a leader in Vietnam's Communist Party called Ho Chi Minh. Like in 1945, he actually win and defeat all the other enemy and declare that Vietnam become an independent country. It's a very important day of Vietnam because Vietnam actually a real country, independent now. So of course it's just a declaration from a Vietnamese people, and then of course it can't stop the French attempt to reinvade the country again. And the first one, of course, is the French. They still not give up on Vietnam for some reason. So it led to the first Indochina War. And this war ended when the Vietnamese Communist Party, defeated the France in 1954. So there are so many years the French keep coming up, coming into and coming back and coming back again and be defeated and gone. So make Vietnam become like a country of war. It's kind of independent, but it's not really. And then the internal, I mean, the Vietnamese people inside become divided. So there are actually two sides, the communists in the north and the non-communists in the south. Because Vietnamese people love Vietnam, but not for the same reason. And In 1957, a communist group from the south called Viet Cong emerged, leading to the Vietnam War. This is one of the biggest one because it's popular in all around the world. If you talk about Vietnam, most of the keyword will be Vietnam War. I don't know why, but it's really popular because the United States decided to help Vietnamese government to actually completely make Vietnam independent, but then they actually use Vietnamese people against Vietnamese people. So it's been protests everywhere in the US about how bad the strategy was and it's a nonsense war. So in the end, 1975, the war is ended. The communists overran the South and took Saigon, leading to the single-party Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Because, I don't know, but there's some, the person who do the news come from all over the world, probably come to Vietnam and try to understand why this country have been invaded so many times by so many different enemies. And then there are massive protests to protect Vietnam at that time, and luckily Vietnam did took that chance to become independent. So once again, it's a very hard time for Vietnam for during probably 1,000 years, something more. So now I will introduce you about Vietnam location. Once again, it belongs to Southeast Asia, and it's bordered to China in the north and Laos in the south, and Cambodia. You know, Laos and Cambodia is quite a good neighbor. So we did helping each other out a few times in the past as well. But they are not really strong country, so it's not really like just friend, not really actual strong country like the US, the UK, or the French. The eastern part of the country consisting over 3,000 kilometers of coastline facing the South China Sea. So Vietnamese beach is really beautiful because Vietnam, like in the middle of the Southeast Asia, it combine all the best natural resources and landscape. If you ever come to Vietnam, you'll see that. But there's some factor that make Vietnamese more interestingly become the destination for traveling. It is a mountains and tropical forest, which is about 40 and 42% being covered in Vietnam. It's been really, really green area. And if you like hiking or wildlife, camping, stuff like that, climbing mountain, explore the real wildlife for yourself, Vietnam can be a good destination if you don't consider all the risk that you might take because it may or may not been explored before. About politics, well, there's some thing need to be clear that Vietnam is a single-party socialist republic. The National Assembly of Vietnam makes up to 500 members who are elected into office by popular vote and also 4 years terms time. So that's it, like kind of the same rule for all Communist Party. So those members will elect the president of Vietnam. You know, we got president and vice president and prime minister. So the president is the head of the state and the commander-in-chief of the armed force. So it's not a very complicated political structure. It's basically very basic, easy to understand and easy to handle. So the leader of the National Assembly is also the Prime Minister. As we all know, it's called the PM, who is head of government and hold. So after the president and the vice president will be the prime minister. So he just like he gonna organize and manage all the rest of the thing and report back to the vice president, and the vice president will report back to the president. So he like kind of hold the country highest political position for sure, because everything will be go through him first before actually going to the vice president or the president. Like he got more interaction between the Vietnamese people who don't have any power, and like he the connection between Vietnamese people and the Vietnamese people powering people. So that a little bit about Vietnamese political thing. And now I'll talk to you about why you should spend your hard-earned money to travel to Vietnam. As you can identify yourself where Vietnam in the map, so it's in the Southeast Asia. So when you travel to Vietnam, you can travel to all the country in an easy way. Because it like really near all the cities, countries that you can visit. And just to be clear that Vietnam receives an average of 6 million tourists each year. That's a quite impressive number for a small city, not a small country like Vietnam. Because the first reason is it affordable. Well, you can be a king if you come from a rich country and you become a king in Vietnam. Live like luxury, and so it's affordable destination with loads of things to offer, like archaeological sites, historic cities, beautiful beaches, amazing culture, people, and especially the food. You need to try Asian food. It's not only about China food or Japanese food. Vietnamese food is one of the most popular. If you can actually eat it, you will never forget the taste, because nothing can compare with it. Moreover, Vietnam has a total of 32 national parks. Quite impressive, right? Like very green country. 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. 7. Can you imagine? It's pretty much natural, no human touch at all. 21 national tourist area. Actual national tourist area. But I think everywhere is a real attraction to you, because quite different, completely different if you're from the Western. So the most popular city, of course, is our capital, Hanoi. It's really popular because people want to know why it's the capital and what city is like. Hanoi completely different from Ho Chi Minh City. It's also one of the most destination. Ho Chi Minh City used to be Saigon, the old capital and famous in Western world due to the Vietnam War. So Saigon got the independent palace, the place that Vietnam been pronounced independent by the Ho Chi Minh City, the leader in Vietnam that time. So they are the two most popular cities for you to visit, and it's quite near each other, so probably a fly away. So Hanoi is the capital today and famous for offering modern comforts as well as cultural and historical sites. So it's combined between the past and the present. It's pretty much like it's not really modern or completely like old vintage. It's in the middle, and the old quarter district survived the Vietnam War. Can you imagine? It survives. There are so many people can't survive, but the place did, and it witnessed so many things. So I'm pretty sure you can find something for you in there. And it's famous for being an open-air museum of historic French and Asian architecture. French and Asian is quite a big word, and it's located in Vietnam, so it probably means something. So if you study art or something like that, you can visit. And also, the city famous for its French cafe and patisserie. Well, because the French been in Vietnam for very long, so the culture and the way they're making food or the way they eat and behave is very much in Vietnam places, like loads of places nowadays. And there are 7 UNESCO heritage sites, as I mentioned to you before. And Hue, do you know Hue City is filled with ruins and historic structures that make it a must visit in Vietnam. So Hue is another city. It's located a bit further after Hanoi, and here you can find the Siddhartha, a complex of palace, walls, gates, and all ornate temple. So Hue City is very different. They got a different, accent. So if you learn Vietnamese, you will know that Hue people got a different accent from a Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City accent, and the food is different. The people characteristic is different. Thiên Mụ Pagoda is a popular iconic structure in Hue. It's featuring 7 stories about the life after death, and a view that overlooks the Perfume River, one of the most beautiful river in Hue. Thiên Mụ Pagoda is a pagoda for couples. I'm not very literally remember is it a good or bad when visit Thiên Mụ Pagoda for a couple, because they may get married after that or may not forever if the pagoda think that is not the right match. So it's the tallest pagoda, just so you know. So if you get lost, you can see any pagoda that the tallest will be the Thiên Mụ Pagoda. Vietnamese is pretty much about Buddhism, so there are so many temples and a pagoda in Vietnam. That is in Hue mostly. And the next attraction I want to introduce you is Ha Long Bay. So it's the bay basically, so it's named Ha Long. It's consisting of over 2,000 small islands. Can you imagine 2,000? Also, it's topped by thick jungles. There are obviously monkeys or wild animals, but filled with caves to explore, as well as lakes and all the beautiful sights to see. As I mentioned, it's completely natural. Like suddenly, on the bay, there's some iconic rock sculpture that if you travel by boat on the bay, you can see it, maybe touch it, probably not, but you picture with it, and it's quite iconic. You can recognize it like from a picture, and people can tell that you're in Vietnam, Ha Long Bay. And another one is the most popular coastal region, Nha Trang. Let me repeat, Nha Trang is the beach. It's the famous one for luxurious hotel, scuba diving, and backpacker accommodation. As of course, luxury hotels and luxury offering, treatment, spa, relaxation in Nha Trang is a lot as well. So if you are low budget or high budget, Nha Trang will welcome you either way. I mean, the atmosphere and everything probably the same, but the furniture, the inside will be different. Not really much, but so education, how Vietnamese doing? Vietnam literacy rate is at 94%, so one of the highest for developing country. Because you know why? Because the parents used to be in the war and they been really hard. They lost their family and life, and they want a better generation. So everyone in the family tell you that, oh, you need to study, you need to go to university, and be the proud of the family. And there are 5 categories for general education. So Vietnamese since baby, of course they go to kindergarten. So Vietnamese people let their child study quite early. I mean, try to be better than their neighbor. So kindergarten, elementary, middle school, high school, and university. So there are 5 stages that every Vietnamese people need to go through in their education to be considered as a complete educated people. I mean, it's quite hard because you need to totally focus on studying, otherwise you can't get into either public or private university in Vietnam, because most of them located in big city only, in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City to be exact. So if you not study very well and you are like not from a rich family, you got no chance to come to big city to study, because get into the public city in Vietnam regarded to be the first step to success. Because without a certificate of fully completing a bachelor degree mean nothing, like you can't even find a proper job. And an annual examination is of course a nightmare to everyone, and how every year for graduating high school student and over 1 million who take the exam. I mean, of course every family try to send their children to school, but not every all of them will be their proud, because in order to study it takes a lot of things, not only work hard, but it's also about gene characteristic and parent ADN or something like that, and only about 20% pass. I'm not sure about the number 20%, but I'm pretty sure Vietnamese people now so much better thanks to the technology and a different approach to education that make Vietnamese people more and more get into the real world. I mean, adapting to the 21st century to be better or try to be as good as China, Hong Kong, or some Southeast Asia in the region. So that's it pretty much about Vietnam I want to introduce for you today. So you know now about historical, geographical, historic site, and interesting place for you to travel to. So I don't know why you're gonna stop or delaying your journey to Vietnam. So I may do another video for you, like just to list out on the best thing that you can do in probably each famous destination in Vietnam. And a watch out, I will come to different YouTube very soon, I hope. So please comment below if you want any specific topic that I will mention or help you out on the way of your journey to Vietnam. Thanks a lot for listening. Please subscribe, comment, and let me know what you're thinking about my first video about Vietnam. Thank you very much. Goodbye. See you very soon. Bye.